Police sirens are blaring as they approach a small family home. They kick down the door as the parents scream and shout, "He's innocent! He's innocent!" over and over and over again. His sister is yelling. She's scared, she's terrified, and police are ready to arrest the assailant. They enter guns raised into the bedroom of a 13-year-old boy named Jamie. This is how the beginning of the UK psychological drama Adolescence starts. Hi everyone, I'm DivineMixx and I'm here with Emperor Nonya. We are trying something new, so stick around as we discuss the TV series Adolescence, which has been getting everybody's attention. So Emperor Nonya, welcome.
Hello. That was a great intro. I'm drawing it. I've already seen it and I'll draw it.
So before we do get started, I do want to give you guys a heads up. There will be spoilers as we discuss. So if you haven't watched it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, this is where you should stop. But if you're okay with spoiling yourself a little bit, then sit back and enjoy the conversation. This one's for you. So the beginning of this series, it starts with cops pulling up to a small family home. It looks like the Burbs, if anything. And they are there arresting a 13-year-old Jamie, in suspicion of murder for his classmate. You know, during this time, we're taking on a long, uncomfortable ride with this 13-year-old as he gets processed through the system and to his trial. And this is where the series pulls me in. Literally in the first few moments of it, I can't fathom seeing a 13-year-old get arrested. Like, as a parent, what do you do? Do you panic? Do you question if your child is, like, not a good person? Or do you start going through their things in their bedroom, asking their friends, like, what do you do? What was going through your mind?
Well, for one, I'm a big what's the word? Filmophile. So I was immediately drawn in with how the episodes are actually shot. I'm a big fan of Martin Scorsese. For all the young folks out there, he's a big time director. One of his most famous shots is the one shot out of Goodfellas when they're entering the casino. It's
and
the
then
same continuous shot.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what they did here with
each and every single episode. But just coming in from the simple conversation between the two police officers and in regards to how he's relating to his own son, who actually is attending the same school as Jamie.
Yeah.
And then transitioning into him kicking down, going inside their home and breaking into his room and realizing that they're not here to get an adult or what would it be like, you'd assume is a seasoned criminal. It's a 13-year-old, and no offense to the homies out there, but European white man or a boy inside of his own bedroom, and he actually wet himself. So this goes right back to just the title sequence. I mean, the title of the series itself is Adolescence. This is not
it's not
grown person.
You expect an adolescent to be involved in.
This is not a grown person. This is actually a child.
Yeah. And what's so crazy about it is, like, in the beginning, you're thinking, because it is that one long shot,
right,
literally from cops coming in, getting him, and like taking him all the way through the
tension just building. The tension's building because you don't know what it's there for. Because at first you just assume that this might even be a comedy series. This isn't funny.
Well, I honestly thought it was gonna be some type of action drama. I was expecting a shootout with the amount of cops all there, only to see a 13-year-old boy.
Right.
Waking up early in the morning, I guess on a school day, and cops are literally full SWAT gear, just like, yeah, we're taking you. It's crazy. And I don't even know if you noticed, but just huge spoiler alert as to whether or not he's guilty or not. I feel like there's always something that's mentioned or shown in the show. Like, there's a little Easter egg. I actually had to find it, and I'll show you the picture. But when he gets caught, or like when they come in to arrest him, at the beginning of the series, his hands kind of go up, and there's a tear in the wallpaper, and it's not like just a scratch. It literally looks like a knife. So the way his hand raised, it looks like he's holding a knife. And just like you guys know, his classmate that was unalived, Katie, I believe, she was stabbed. And that's how it all happened.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
Back to, if I can refer back to the cinematography again, the way they were able to capture the tension and the unknown, because the first sequence of shots is following sorry, I'm slipping my mind for the name of the detectives. But when they start with that, and the way it transitions from the panel between him being on his phone and getting to the car, and then shifting from that pan view to go straight into the house, you're going into the unknown. And that's exactly how we feel when we see Jamie in the show itself. There's no way that this little boy has done anything of this magnitude to see.
The whole time I'm thinking he's innocent, and I'm looking at all the other characters, especially his friends. One of his friends in the show in particular, I'm just like, he has to have done it. Those kids know something. He has,
you make a reference to episode 2?
All the episodes. Like at the moment his friends are introduced, the moment they start showing scenes in the school. And like I can't recall if they were like his friend borrowed his sweater, and they're just like, oh, that night he was out with his friends. There's 2 other friends there. His friend borrowed his sweater. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% on the sweater thing. But I'm just like, these 2 kids, they're in the same height, like roughly the same height, roughly the same hair color, same look and everything.
Right.
And I'm just like, this friend is like, no, we can't say nothing. We can't say nothing. And then their other friend is like, should we speak? What should we do? So the whole time, especially in those first 2 episodes, I'm just like, our guy Jamie is innocent. He's innocent. He's worried.
Right, you're looking for any evidence, anything at all to point us in that direction. And when the officer shows him a picture of his friends, and you see how he hitches up, I remember that feeling. I think any young kid can remember that feeling of when you're in a situation you had to choose between staying loyal to your friends or being able to put yourself up on the chopping block. And my first assumption would be that's exactly what this young man is doing.
Yeah. Was there anything you noticed in the show that like particularly stands out to you as a cinemaphile?
Well, let me see. I think what they did is that, well, it really depends on you as a person, and because a lot of cinema itself is subjective to the viewer. If you had any similar childhood in terms of being uncertain, and I think a lot of us do, when it comes on to puberty and growing up and what our future decisions are, you're going to be captured into it yourself, because that's exactly what the basis of the theme of this series is. Because it's not just about Jamie, it's about everybody else dealing with this whole situation, the death of Katie and the unknown. Because as much as they have so much evidence against this young man, it's almost unbelievable. It's surreal. I believe in episode, I'd say 3, when Jamie's being interviewed by the psychologist, we have already seen the video of Jamie. Of
what looks like Jamie.
Stabbing Katie, which was the revealed at the end of episode 1 when his father breaks down. After he's asked him several times for him to just let him know what's going on. And even after being faced with all his evidence, he's still claiming innocence.
So that's why
I've seen the evidence. I'm still you're right.
The one.
I've seen evidence. I'm still
like, no, it
trying to right.
Someone else. I was so quick to like look for someone else to accuse. But you did touch up on, the show doesn't simply just focus on Jamie and follow Jamie. It's also on how it affects everybody around.
There were some really great casting choices inside the show in order to capture that emotion. In fact, Stephen Graham, who is one of the creators of the show. He's the one that plays Jamie's father.
Oh, that's so. He did such a good job. I will say,
recognize his face, right? He's been in a bunch of things over the years, and now he's stepping to a more directorial role. And I wow.
It was well done. It was
most
well
definitely,
done.
most
You
definitely.
truly felt like this was a father who wanted to do everything to defend his child, even if it legally wasn't the best option. But
Funny enough,
a father.
That's exactly who he played before. He played Al Capone.
Oh, really?
Yes. And
wow.
I don't know. This wasn't on Netflix. This came out several years ago. I think many years ago. Many years ago. Boardwalk Empire, and that's basically the same thing too. And it's Al Capone, but Al Capone had a disabled child, and I believe he was deaf, and it was basically the same thing. A father that was willing to do anything
to help his kid, and then you could literally see his whole world being crushed and not knowing what to do once he saw that video. But in regards to, because now that I think about it, we see how it affects his parents. We see how it affects his classmates. We see how it even affects, the cops involved. But the one person I feel like we didn't really get to see much of is how it affected his sister. Like, in the beginning, we see his sister screaming. She's thrown on the floor and everything. And we see her screaming. And then the only thing we see in regards to his sister is when they're at the precinct and the mom's like, no, he pushed her. Like, let's file a report with the cops. The cops are being too aggressive. And now that I think about it, because we've been going through a whole bunch of cases lately, when it comes to these siblings of situations like these, it seems like they, just like in this movie, kind of get pushed to the side, because the parents are obviously just focusing on the issue at hand, the child at hand. And then that kid has, like, practically after the first or second episode, I barely remember her. And I wonder if that's, like, also in reference to what people are going through in real life. When your sibling is caught on a murder charge, you're not the priority. Your parents have to go take care of this, but you're also struggling just as much as they are. It's just you're a little bit invisible to the... So I thought that was quite interesting. Yeah,
we got to see it in the first episode when the cops come in. They're coming for Jamie, but she's having a breakdown. No one's attending to her.
Yeah, and everybody, like we even get to see the friend's reaction. More than we even see her reaction. And that also leads into cases like they tend to question the friends. You find out more what's going on with the friends and things like that. So that was very interesting to me. And also you mentioned earlier his talks with the psychologist. I believe he had like 2 to 3 conversations with her, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Another great performance there by Aaron Doty.
One thing, I don't know if this is an Easter egg, but I noticed, and I did look this up, that those interactions, have you noticed, like, she always brought him something? Like, she brought him, I believe, a cheese and pickle sandwich last. She brought him hot chocolate, and she brought him, like, some other type of sweet snack. And very early on in the first session, he mentioned, I don't like pickles. Don't get me nothing with pickles. But then in, the last session, she brought him something with pickles, and apparently in psychology, it could have been used as a way to test him, because if he accepts it and, it means that, like, if he accepts it without complaint, it means that in life he has probably felt powerless and just agreed to do certain things because he had a lot of people pushing things on him. But if he refuses, he might be defiant, or he might even try to exert control in a situation where he has little power. So I think that's one of those things where it's like, wait a minute. This kid, because in his psychology sessions, I felt like he was putting on an act. After the first session, I felt like, wait a minute. He's too happy. He's too comfortable. It feels like someone who has all the cards in their hands and they're playing a game. Yeah. What did you think of those sessions?
Well, as someone who knows people who have gone through the juvenile system, he was obviously not staying in one of the youth facilities that would be made for what you would call your regular criminals. Mind you, this man is this kid is a murder suspect at this point. So him being in good spirits would only be because he doesn't have to be around other kids like himself.
Really?
Yeah,
I felt like he was in good spirits because he knew he could get like hot chocolate or a sweet drink whenever he had a session, and that's something
that's something you're not going to get when you're inside one of those facilities. And I do believe that's why they wanted to do a psychological evaluation on him, because they just couldn't find what could have motivated him, because they didn't understand. This was touched on by the detective's son when he was at the school, and they went through his Instagram posts, and they saw the red pill emoji on it, and he didn't know what that meant. You know, for most, because I'm on I'm the youngest millennial. I'm the youngest millennial, so I'm somewhere in between. I'm able to pick up on certain logos and whatnot. I think that the manosphere, as they refer to it, and the red pill community really went off during like 2019, 2020, and that's when I saw a big transition of the youth of moving into this movement. And mind you, when they were referring to incels, this is a relatively new term as well. For those who are unaware, it means involuntary celibate, which means that if you...
I did not know that's what it meant.
That's what it means.
It
means involuntary celibate.
But it's weird because the people that it's used to reference, they're not involuntary celibate. A good amount of them tend to pay for their...
Well, it's an insult. It's just like when we were kids or whatever. You were in high school, and mind you, a lot of us are virgins, and if you get called a virgin, then that's the first thing you have to defend. No, that's impossible. You know, and this is, and I've been seeing this, and I've always thought it was pretty dangerous. The thing is that you're a kid. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I used to lie about that when I was in high school. If someone asked me if I was hooking up with anybody, of course I am. Are you crazy? I'm not the only one not hooking up with it, but as you grow older and you talk to other people, you realize we were all lying. We were all lying to each other.
I feel like during certain ages, like high school, and depending on where you're at, junior high, really depending. But during those ages, you do feel pressure to be more mature, more active, and things like that.
Because there's nobody in your ear telling you that's okay, because these are discussions that we don't usually have with our parents. And the second episode, when the detectives come to school, Jamie's friend, he was quite confident that they're not going to get any information on anybody, because it's us versus them.
Right. As well.
And it's also us versus them, because any information that we have, we're not going to give it up, because social solidarity in the youth, that's the same thing that we experience when we're in school. It's that it's always the older people versus us, because we're supposed to be loyal to one another. Another part of growing up, and his friend was asking the type, mind you, they're dealing with a murder case, and his most important thing he's asking about is his popularity that he had in high school, because this is what's important to them. This is the priorities that they put on, and in this
And there were two friends. One was like, we should tell.
Yeah.
And the other was like, no, let's see how they are first. Yeah.
And I think that this is all relatable back to the whole toxic masculinity and incel culture that we've set up now. And the series, it goes into it in terms of Jamie's... Like he started to do that. Like the rhetoric that he's picked up online, and then now it's transferred his head, because at this point the kid's 13. I mean, obviously if he's celibate, then I mean we can kind of get that.
It makes sense.
We get it, bro. You're 13.
But I'll say this, because I had a conflicting response to that, because I understood that he had gone into red pill territory at such a young age, but I personally felt like he was pushed towards it. Not necessarily like that's where he started, because you had this girl who was publicly saying these things on social media, and sometimes what you post on social media is forever. So you had this girl publicly saying these things. You had her doing it online. You had her doing it in person. I feel like sometimes when you push people too far, you can't be upset. So I'm not saying like, oh, everyone in the incel community or in the red pill community, they were forced a certain way. Some people within that community, it's like, okay, you get rejected enough times, you start to hate people. But that's not necessarily it being forced on you. Sometimes that's a product of your actions. But I think in this case, there is a possibility that because he was being bullied so severely, it pushed him to this direction. Because, like, we could take two students, let's say, just for, like, hypothetical terms, a male jock bullying a male computer science kid, right? That one, it could push someone towards something very extreme, not necessarily the red pill community, but bullying can push people to an extreme sometimes. So that's where I'm just like, was he...
A lot of people get pushed into it that way because they find it as their safe space.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying, like,
experiencing the same
like,
thing,
can
or
we...
who have experienced it.
Yeah, can we 100% put everything on this 13-year-old Jamie because it's showing that, oh, he's gone and he believes in this rhetoric? Or do we also have to shift part of that blame onto the girl that he did end up unaliving because she, in many ways, could have been what pushed him towards there?
Well, I think in the justice system itself, the reason why we treat minors differently is because their brain is still developing.
That's true.
A lot of our socioeconomic structure and such that we have to refer to, and it's a big thing, and everybody's different. Just like this has happened, I know people who have gone through this, and they didn't react this way. I've known people who have reacted this way, and it wasn't even in high school. It wasn't
anything close.
It wasn't in high school either. These are people who are adults that have acted similar to this. I'm from a small island, and so the culture itself is attuned to fit towards men. It's a patriarchal society, and it's not uncommon for men to behave in this manner. And it's because they were in checks when they were younger. When there's no supervision, when you're basically getting a mantra and it weighs into your mind, it'll just become your personality. A lot of people find their own subset at that age, and they find their niche and they lock into it. Jamie felt he was
probably trapped and alone.
Right, that he didn't have anybody to express these emotions that he was feeling, to want or need and crave. Because he didn't want to even admit that he was even attracted to Katie throughout this.
That makes me wonder that, like, because we see his dad go through all of these phases, and we're just like, his father is like, I know my child, but clearly you didn't know this. So it makes me wonder what their relationship was, and even more so, what's going through his parents' mind. But I do agree with you. I do think a lot of these things happen when young, and if you don't have someone that you feel like you can go to for guidance or anything, it ends up into this.
The internet raises a lot of our kids now. That's the thing.
Which is sad.
And I don't believe in helicopter parenting because I used to hate when my parents did to me. But if they were going through socials or anything like that, they'd been able to catch up on this, and that's why some parents do the things that they do. I would also be in denial to say that, oh, I don't know my kid, but a lot of us don't know our kids.
Well, yeah, we see this in a lot of cases.
I kept a lot of things from my parents growing up.
And we do see this in a lot of cases where parents still defend their kids, even when it's even big cases.
You don't want to blame yourself. You don't want to blame your kid. You don't want to feel responsible that you brought this person into the world and decision making, because the first thing people are going to relate to is your parents.
Yeah.
All right.
I do want to get back into Jamie himself, because one thing I noticed, and it's like night and day with him, and you especially see this when you look at the psychology talks, is that in like the first 2 episodes, it feels like you're dealing with a scared kid. It feels like you're dealing with a kid who's stuck in something and he's like, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. I don't know what to do. I want my mommy, I want my daddy, type of thing. But then by the time you get to that 3rd therapy session, he's like a completely different kid. He's walking around a little cocky, a little confident. He's a bit more abrasive, if you will. And just how his character grows. Did you notice that?
Oh, yes, I did. We don't get to see Jamie act as he would with his peers because he's never with his peers. Every time we see him with people who would be in a position of authority above him, and it's reflective in how he reacts to them. When he of course he acts like a child when he's with his father.
But now that you're speaking, I realized the only time I saw him act that braggadocious is when he was with the female psychologist.
That's what I was just about to say.
Right? Everybody else, he's with men, and you only see that with her.
Right.
Which ties into the misogyny.
Right. And then you brought back when she brought him the pickle sandwich. When if it was a man who brought it to him, because he realized that every time that the security guard came out, it was a man that was there for her protection, and then he would cool down afterwards. I think that's what she was trying to do, to see what his relationship was with women. And he obviously feels inadequate. He feels like he's not being listened to, and that's what he felt like with Katie. Given her situation, he wanted he thought that she would hook up with him out of desperation for what he was looking for. He was the one that was desperate, and Katie wasn't desperate. She already had a support system. And for him, he wanted her to be his support system, for him not to be an incel, to prove that he wasn't a part of that subset of people. He wanted to prove that he was the red pill guy, that he's the entry.
And when he didn't get that, he retaliated.
Right, because that's in his mind, he was being designated to, that's all I am. That means I'm not the Chad.
and I'll say this just to all of you guys watching. I personally believe you define your own self. So if somebody calls you XYZ, the only way it's going to actually mean something or actually take note is if you believe it yourself. So I personally think, like, she could be calling, in this situation, Katie could have been calling him an incel. She could have been saying all these things. But if he personally didn't believe it to some extent, it wouldn't have affected him as much.
Absolutely.
But yeah, do you have any other thing that you want to touch up on? Because I feel like, for me, this whole movie, I'm still just like, if I was a parent, I wouldn't even know how to react. A part of me would be like, trying to figure out whatever information I could figure out outside of the police, as well as another part of me would be, as you said, just in suspended disbelief and hoping and praying my child is actually innocent. Is there anything else you wanted to touch up on?
Well, going back to the parent situation in the final episode, we see how the family lives their day-to-day lives, and so it's mostly centered around the father and his interactions. He has to deal with the scrutiny and the backlash of what Jamie has done, and also that Jamie has been maintaining his innocence. So of course there's going to be public outcry, considering, one, they have a video, two, Katie was, as much as she had her situation, she was still a young, beautiful girl, and the public is going to be, of course, upset about this. And him being in the area still, because a lot of families that I've read about that their kids go to school, and we don't even get into all that for YouTube, they end up moving from the area.
Yeah, they didn't move.
Right. And because this man has built a life here, right? This is where, because he still has to defend the rest of his family. And
it also took, I believe, a few months where he's still in juvenile or whatever detention center, and you're seeing that, like, hey, we see the immediate impact, and then we're also seeing as time progresses as well.
That's right. And I think the reaction of when he calls them in the car, when the family's in the car, when they leave the Home Depot type store, the hardware store, when Jamie is talking to his father, and then he relates that he's going to actually plead guilty. He was only willing to admit that to his father. He didn't know that his mother and sister were on the phone. He still doesn't respect women.
Yeah.
He still doesn't respect women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is or rather this is what I perceived from the interview that he had with the police and with the psychologist, was that he views women as objects. And when the object didn't do its intended purpose, that's when he lashed out.
Yeah, that actually, by the time it got to the end, because I'm watching this as a woman,
right,
I'm always looking at him like, what is actually going on in your household? Because we don't really see much details on the mom or the sister. Like, what is going on in your household that makes you go like, yeah, it's okay for me to think this. Because I personally feel like if you have a father figure in the household that's appreciating his wife and his daughter as well as their son, even if they're dealing with the things they're dealing with at school, they're not going to immediately go to that because they're going to have an example right here that says, wait, no, that can't be true. So it does make me think like, okay, this is both saying everything and also saying there's a lot more under the surface. But yeah, that's all the time we have for today. I hope we got into a few things in this discussion, and let me know if there's any TV shows, movies, or anything that you guys would want to discuss, or if you've watched Adolescence or have any questions about it, comments, or anything, leave it all down in the comments below. Thank you for joining me, Emperor Nonya, and hopefully we could get back into this because I know there's a new series out that, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk about. But bye, everybody.
Peace out, homies. Later.